there was a lot of trains down here like it used to be. Dad told me when he was little, his whole entire truck bay was filled with tons of evergreen paper trucks, and then there would be maybe two or three trains that would come through in one day. One coming from Murphy, one going from Asheville, and one leaving from Canton. I hate to see where this old place went down to, especially since they destroyed the historical smokestack. Right up there where that smokestack is, the Evergreen or the Blue Ridge Paper Mill smokestack that was there from 1908 was standing where I'm pointing my finger. But it ain't there anymore because they're destroying it. Hopefully they put it in the history museum. Off she goes. Don't know where she's gonna stop, but there she goes. That main line right there, where the railroad crossing sign is, my dad said, and my papa said, used to be a lot of cars come through here all day. Yards were packed down with rail cars. That whole line would have maybe 150 cars come through, maybe once or twice a day. And it would be the Southern High Hood SD 40s that would come through every day. You don't get to see Norfolk Southern or the High Hoods or the Southern Railroad anymore. Only thing that operates this railroad would be Blue Ridge Southern. Came here in 2014. I think it was November of 2014. Took over for Norfolk Southern because NS couldn't keep the rail line up and couldn't keep the line paid anymore, so they had to sell it off to Blue Ridge Southern. And thankfully, we've got a train to run this line because without any of this freight, that historical mill from 1908 wouldn't have been there. Because if I was standing here today and that Blue Ridge Southern train wasn't here, that all would have been abandoned, demolished, or whatever. But I'm thankful that they're here to keep this place alive and running. I need to stop staring in the headlights of that engine. And another thing is, the one thing that's still here about the history of this railroad. If this place was abandoned today, if the mill was abandoned, the one thing left of the railroad would have been the yard and this right here. This spare set of tracks that's buried underneath the road is actually a boxcar shed. Though there was two boxcar sheds, that in there and then there was one there, and the line was diverted off right there where that empty patch of gravel is. It came down through here, went along through there, and into that boxcar door over there that's now actually, it's not even a door anymore. That door, I think, is sealed shut. That's the only part of history of this railroad that's abandoned. That's the only set of rails that are abandoned on the old Southern Railway line. This abandoned boxcar line right here, that's the only thing that I found that's abandoned in Canton, North Carolina. The rest of all the other tracks are still in good shape and still going and still got trains running on them. Well, let's get across tracks. Another thing is, if they ever did shut down this rail line, Blue Ridge, Great Smoky Mountains would probably buy out this rail line, because Great Smoky Mountains, if you ever heard of Great Smoky Mountains is a historical tourist rail line in the Great Smokies of North Carolina. It runs from Bryson City. Actually, yeah, Bryson City is the main area. From Bryson City to Sylva and Dillsboro. Then from there back to Bryson City on down towards Nantahala. And then I can't remember what else. But if this line ever did go out and it was abandoned, Blue Ridge Southern would probably let Norfolk Southern would have them, the Great Smoky Mountain, buy out this huge line of rails, and they probably would use this for a tourist attraction or tourist rail. But right now I'm going to show you the last remainings of the Champions smokestack from 1908 to 2018. Right there, if I zoom in, is the last remainings of the smokestack that they are now destroying because there's issues with that smokestack today. It can't stand up properly, so they're going to destroy it to keep it from falling down on things and on people and destroying the mill. I just hope they put a whole bunch of pieces in the historical museum. I also wish they could rebuild the thing after they take it down, but it's just going to be tore down and never be rebuilt again. I'm going to walk down there. I know by the time I start walking down there, this video really ain't Blue Ridge Southern switching. I couldn't think of a name for this. It looked like they were switching. They probably were while I was at church, but still can see them. Somehow got wet. I don't know how that happened. Here's the 4 engines. Looks like they got number 4201 back on the mainline runner again. 4201 was actually out on both of these 2 separate lines right here. They were out, and well, it was out getting fixed and worked on. 4201 had some issues in the main engine compartment, and a couple of things were wrong with the traction wheels. So they had to take out a couple of those axles and replace some new flywheels in there. And this engine here, 4205, I think they need to put it out on the spare line, the engine line, or the work line, because 4205, this engine has some real major issues with running. It's got, when it runs, it sounds a little off, because this SD here, I used to see in Canton. This SD here is a real old SDs. These types of SDs are the old types of SD 40-2s, and that SD there, I can tell you one thing, they need to put it out on the sidetrack and do some maintenance on it, because I know when an engine needs maintenance, and that engine there needs some bad maintenance, very bad maintenance. Last year they had it out all day. They had it out for 3 months last year, and then it ran for 1 month, and then it was back out 3 months again on the maintenance line because it had a bad axle. One of the flywheels on there was destroyed. One of the axle gears were all messed up, and the engine room was bad in shape. When it ran, you could hear the engine sound like metal being grind. So they put that out over here on this. They put that out over here where these 2 engines are on the maintenance line. Did some maintenance on it. Now it's back to running, but I think they need to put it back on maintenance again because it sounds a little off. Sounds like metal grinding again inside the engine. Well, let's walk down here. Hopefully they don't start moving by the time I get down here. I have a feeling they're probably already moving, because they do that every time I come down this end. This engine here, I don't know what's wrong with it, but the last time I seen it on the rail line running, it actually ran pretty good. It could probably be a bad axle in there. Last time it was sitting out here, it had a engine compartment in there had failed. It was the middle engine room, the one where all the pistons and the big piston tank in there. It was all destroyed, and they had to do some maintenance on it. Now it hasn't been back on the track since last year. It's been 2 years since it hasn't been running. This engine here is supposed to be the switch engine in Canton, but they never use it for switching. Only thing is, I don't even know what they're doing with this engine. This engine actually used to be the gravel car runner, one that ran from here to Candler. They haven't done it since. Big old knuckler here. Now this is as far as I can go. But when Norfolk Southern was here, I could go farther than this. Over there's the third rail yard that splits off from the two main rail yards, goes off around the mill. And then the switcher way in the back does the switching with all these cars. Sit down here and see if they're doing anything. I'm glad it didn't flood that day. We all were panicking after Hurricane Florence had hit. Because when Hurricane Florence had hit, they had the engines all split up. There was an engine there, all the mainliner engines, the SDs were sitting up here, then the GPs were down there, and they were all on alert for the river being flooded. Never did. It's a good thing we didn't, because in flood of 04, actually it flooded everything down here. Actually not mostly, but everything down here was flooded. The water actually got all the way up to the front of the mill. All this here was all underwater, all of it. Up there, most of the tracks up there were underwater. The bridge was underwater, and all the water came up through this way, and it was all the way at the front of the yard. Flooded everything in Canton. But right there's the historical smokestack that they are now destroying. I wish they would not destroy it, but I also wish it was this wrong material. But it's been there for a very long time, and I understand why you need to get rid of it. It's just sad to see it go. Now, where are they going? I hear them down here moving. That's what they're doing, switching. In that case, if they are, I have to walk all the way over there. Alright, that can hurt. Sounds like they started up the engines down here. I'm actually gonna change the title. It ain't gonna be Blue Ridge Southern switching, even though they are switching. It should be Blue Ridge Southern rail fanning, which is, I know there's nothing to rail fan, but it's a short line railroad. I don't feel like walking all the way down there, because you never know, somebody could pick me up and take me away, so I'll go with the smart option of going back down to the depot. could have started up these engines. Yeah, I think they did. Sounds like it. No, they didn't. That was that truck. Oh, look. Not there they are. Huh. Either they're going to park or they're obviously doing one of the two, but they've got see what they're doing. Dang. Right, well, they're moving up to the railroad crossing. Need a good exercise as well. Let's get up here before they do. Alright, let's get back up there. Yeah. Let's get up here to the station depot. Probably already beat me up here. Okay, here he comes. Don't know what he's gonna do. Just don't blow. Okay. Looks like they're shut down. Nope, no they're not. Engineer's sitting in there and he's doing something. He's doing something. I don't know what, but he's doing something. Tell you, I wonder when they're gonna use this part of the siding. You never see this being used anymore. This line right here has never been used. You can tell by the rusty rails how they're shaped. The rust comes right off though. This is going to be me when I graduate from college or high school. Except I'm not being a conductor, I'm going to be the engineer. I just have to go through 1 year of being the switcherman, the brakeman, and then I'll be all good. Yes, I knew he would do that. Now where is he going? he just goes wherever he goes. Oh, he's backing up. probably shutting down the engine. Yep, that's what he's doing. Got the headlights off and everything. Alright, well, that's the end of the video. Please subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, and comment down below. You can follow me on Facebook or YouTube, whichever you prefer. But I hope you have a good Sunday afternoon. I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye.